Hello, everyone, and welcome live to 3 Wide TV, tonight's broadcast of the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series from the beautiful Rockingham Speedway in North Carolina. I'm Peter Short, and joining me alongside is Andre Grambush for the Simbox 150 here tonight, 150 miles at one of the trickier racetracks these drivers will go to this season in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Andre, great to have you back up here in the booth this week. It's a racetrack we both love here tonight. Tire saving going to be the name of the game here on this 1 mile track.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about it before the race. I think we're both in agreement. This is just one of the best tracks. I mean, you gotta love it. It's not only a difficult track, but it's just such a strange track. You look at the track map on the top right of iRacing or wherever we'll have it at some point on the broadcast, and you see that going into turn 1, it's such a harsh angle getting in, and then an even worse angle coming out. 3 and 4 is a little bit more forgiving, but just the fact that it's so different from 1 and 2 still makes it a challenge. These guys are going to be rustling the trucks all around the track all night long, and watching practice, man, these guys are having to manhandle these trucks. And I've seen a few guys bounce off the wall, so I think we're in for a lot of action.
Yeah, that back stretch is known as Thunder Alley for a reason, Andre. We've seen a lot of action over the years on the back stretch. Of course, this track has not hosted a NASCAR Cup Series event since 2004. We hope that will change with new life coming to the Rockingham Speedway. Money in North Carolina has been allocated to the Rockingham Speedway, hopefully to bring it back on the schedule. I know a lot of the hype, Andre, surrounds North Wilkesboro and getting North Wilkesboro back to a state where it can have racing. I am equally excited to see Rockingham hopefully make it back on the NASCAR schedule one day, but it is here tonight in the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series season. Race number 3 of the season. Of course, we opened off with the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast 300 2 weeks ago. Last week, we had a great race, the Bagcraft 200 at Homestead, Miami. A thrilling race. We had only one caution, but it kept us on our toes all the way to the end, as the National Sim Racing Association typically does here on 3 Wide TV. Just about 2.5 minutes left here in practice. And Andre, is there anyone in particular catching your eye here as the clock continues to tick away here in practice?
Julian Tesoro right now is a driver I've been keeping my eye on. He's got the fastest lap in practice so far with a 24.219. He's got about 0.03 of a second up on Philip Scott, who ran a 24.241. Both those guys really fast, but it just seems like Tesoro, as I was following along with him earlier, just really consistent. I mean, his lines, you watch lap after lap, and you think you're just watching a replay of the last one because he's just hitting his marks every time. And I think at a track like this, being consistent is going to be your friend because it's so easy to just overdrive a little bit, make a little mistake here or there. And if you can be consistent, you can stay safe.
Yeah, riding on board with the number 30 machine right now. Of course, Tesoro was locked up in that battle late at Homestead, Miami for position, and looks like Tesoro going to bring it down onto pit lane right here. A good entry to pit lane as well, showing his muscle here. Like you said, top of the charts and making it look easy. You mentioned consistency. Consistency at this racetrack doesn't just bleed to lap times. It goes to saving your tires as well, being smooth on the wheel, being smooth on the brakes, getting that truck balance on entry into the corner is going to be very, very important to not scrub off the good stuff off of these tires, because this racetrack, Andre, you and I know it's a very abrasive surface, very tough on tire wear, very easy to get the front end of the truck to misbehave, very easy to make the rear end of the truck misbehave here, and we'll see how these drivers manage it all night long as Philip Scott there in his National Ninja League F-150 comes out at turn number 2, second fastest right now here in practice with just about 38 seconds to go.
And I think the name of the game is going to be saving that right front. Of all the tires, you know, it's going to be bad everywhere, but that right front, you're cranking on the steering wheel so hard to get into turn 1. And I think the best way to prevent that is going to be to back up that corner entry into turn 1, get a little bit slower, make sure you arc it a little bit more so that you're not really putting too much pressure on that right front. But of course, if you do that, then you open yourself up to some real dive bombs, because really the braking point is super early. You can see the front end of the truck. You can see it dives down when they brake. They're braking far before that corner. and they're going to have to brake even earlier if they want to save that tire. So that really does open the door up to somebody trying to get the overtake. This is a bit of a multi-lane track as well, so somebody above you or beneath you could potentially take advantage of your tire savings. So you got to know when to save and when to drive a little bit harder. It's going to be a very intense race out there with a lot of decisions for these guys to have to try to make.
And that's one of my favorite things about this racetrack, racing on this racetrack, Andre, is it is a driver's racetrack. You have a lot to manage, and having so much to manage will allow the drivers to manage things differently and ultimately lead to passes out there on the racetrack once we get into the race session. But we do have qualifying up right now. We got drivers out there on the racetrack. One of those drivers you see right there in turn number 3 and 4. That's the number 14 back channel production Chevy of Jeff Price here heading down the front stretch, trying to warm up those tires, it looks like, as he heads off towards turn 1 and 2, trying to roll that yellow line right there. And Andre, I know you've raced on this racetrack before. I've always found that there's a little line coming out of turn number 2 where you can really straighten that exit up off of turn number 2. It looks like he's preparing for lap number 2 to be Price's fast lap there as he ran high through turn number 3 and 4. We'll see whether that is true or not as Jeff Price goes fastest, briefly went fastest. As now this driver right here, our Daytona winner, Martin Plute, top of the board.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about turn 1, being able to straighten it up coming out of 2. If you drive down the banking, you can really use that banking to kind of hook the car and get yourself a good exit. But if you jump that, it's not really a cushion. We're on pavement, not on dirt, but it does feel like there's a bit of a cushion, because if you push up just a little bit too high, that car shoots straight up to the wall, and it is not very far to go before you hit it. I mean, it's so narrow getting into Thunder Alley there, and you got to get it right. I mean, if you square it up, you get it lined up, you're good to go. But man, oh man, it is a fine line as we're following along with a few more drivers turning their laps. Not really a whole lot of time to spare here. I was going to say the track temp is 128, and if we get some cloud coverage, that could come down, which would help with qualifying. But it seems like with the 5-minute timer we have, nobody's really waiting for any cloud cover. They say, all right, want to make sure I get both laps out. We're going to get out there as soon as we can.
Julian Tesoro, you were mentioning that he was looking good in practice. Currently, top of the board. Mike Floppy Tellier in the number 97 machine. He's going to jump into 4th on the board here as the live timing and scoring at the top of your screen updates. There is Tellier. Made a start back at Daytona. Did not start at Homestead, Miami last week. Here's Stan Hausman, who pretty much backs up his practice lap time just inside the top 10 in 7th in the BeerStreetJournal.com number 39 machine. If you have not checked out BeerStreetJournal.com so far this season and the National Sim Racing Association, well, make sure you do so. Best place to check out your craft beer news across the United States. Number 39 on pit lane right there. About 2 minutes left here. Racetrack going fairly quiet. Here's one driver who was up near the top of the charts in practice so far, not backing this up. We'll see what he can do on lap number 2 here, but this is Tristan Maher here, Andre.
Yeah, he's coming out swinging, I would say. We're going to see what kind of lap time he's able to pull off here. That lap looks like it was going to be about a 25.3. So not too bad. Nope, actually increased it to a 24.307. Not a bad time at all. That's going to put him up into P2. Tesoro still on the pole, the only driver in qualifying at least to be in the 24.2 bracket. And we still got Philip Scott in 3rd, Martin Plute in 4th there in the number 8, and Tellier in that 97 is sitting P5. So a few last-minute drivers. There goes number 18 machine. He's bringing it down to the proverbial pit road. Yeah, maybe the wrong pit road, though, Peter.
Yeah, of course, the backstretch used to be the pit lane for support events here back in the day. And that's just one of the cool things about this particular racetrack is it has so much flavor, so much history as well, that really has shaped it to be the track that is, the bumpy racetrack that it is today. Here's Nick Kessler, the number 88 machine, just turned in his first lap, goes 10th on the board. Good first lap for the Taz Racing Customs Chevrolet. We'll see if he can pick it up on lap number 2. He's slower, though, in his first sector. That is not boding well for this Chevrolet. Goes all the way up to the top side of the racetrack. That's typically not the fastest way around the Rockingham Speedway. Nick Kessler comes to the line does not improve, but Patrick Morrison's out there in the number 96 machine right now. Let's pick him up here, Andre.
Yeah, Patrick Morrison was one of those drivers just kind of sitting on pit road, I think maybe waiting till the last possible minute for some cloud cover. Didn't get it, but the clock is running out, so he's got to go regardless. And working his way through turn one, he actually is going to park it again. I don't think he's going to complete this lap here, Peter.
So he will stay 19th on the board. Checkered flag is out. Julian Tesoro picks up his first National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series pole. Congratulations to Julian Tesoro. I know we usually have a couple of Julian Tesoro fans in the chat. They will be very happy to see the number 30 machine on the pole. Speaking of the starting grid, though, here for tonight's Simbox 150, Julian Tesoro, like I mentioned, on the pole, his first career pole here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Tristan Maher will be starting alongside. Philip Scott, 1/10 off of the pole time. That just tells you how fast that lap time was by Julian Tesoro. That third place was a 10th behind, but Scott will roll off from the inside of row number 2 alongside our Daytona winner, Martin Plute. Mike Floppy Tellier will be rolling off in 5th alongside Justin White in 6th. Adam Dama, 7th. Stan Hausman, good run for him in 8th. And rounding out our top 10, Doug Neal in the Simbox number 77 and Nick Kessler. Andre.
And looking back from the top 10, you got Jeff Clifton and Stephen McDonald making up that row, 11 and 12 respectively. Still only a couple tenths off the pole, very close competition. 13 and 14 goes to Ben Mashburn and Adam Newton. Now, Mashburn, of course, very fast at Daytona in the season opener. Didn't have the best luck, but definitely a truck to look out for tonight. Jeremy Richmond, Joe Meesh, they're going to be 15 and 16. Christopher Darling is going to come in at 17th, just about mid-grid. Travis White to his outside in 18th. Patrick Morrison, Randy Perdue behind them. And I'll let you run out the field there, Peter.
Yeah, Jeff Price will be rolling off from 21st with Mikey Williams on the outside of row number 11. Dalton Hayes, Vincent Valvano rounding out our top 24 starters here tonight. Starting in the 25th position, Gerald Baker the third. David Buell in one of the other Simbox machines here tonight, rolling off on the outside of row number 13. Jimbo of Stay Tuned Sports Podcast himself will be rolling off from the inside of row 14 with Matt Cherry, another one of the Stay Tuned Sports machines, rolling off from the 28th position. Doug Milliner in the number 6 will start from the 30th position. I skipped over Scott Tompkins because he is the out-of-race official here tonight. Will not be starting here at the Rockingham Speedway. The pace car lights are off and the field getting rolling here. It is a tough racetrack, one that you want to start well. You want to start picking up those positions early. You can already see right there in turn number 1 and 2, a bunch of marbles up there on the top side of the racetrack, Andre. Usually you don't see those marbles form until about halfway into the race, but that's just telling of how much tire wear this racetrack brings to the table.
Yeah, a lot of tire wear, and I believe the track state remained the same from practice and qualifying, so these guys are basically dealing with the same conditions they had before. And you're right, it is so abrasive on these tires, and they're going to have to be careful up in that high lane with all the marbles that it will produce. But looks like the pace car is headed out of turn 4, and the lights are off, so we are about to go green for race number 3 of the season. The number 30, Julian Tesoro, leads him to the flag. And he is going to waste no time. The flag waves. He gets a 1 truck length advantage. But look at this. The 17 fights back. They're door-to-door barreling into turn 1 at Rockingham.
Yeah, Tristan Maher just rockets around the outside in the Eclipse Photography machine. And, oh, man, Julian Tesoro just cut off the nose of Martin Plute. They stay all clean and green so far. Single file. You're up at the front of the field. You have to go all the way back to Nick Kessler in the number 88, battling alongside Jeff Clifton. And now they think about 3 wide here on the front stretch as we complete lap number 1. Only 150 laps in the books here tonight. Meanwhile, back behind, Stephen McDonald in a battle. Looks like Nick Kessler might have kissed the wall coming out of turn number 2. These drivers racing extremely hard in the early going. The AlphaTauri, number 42 of McDonald, though, losing a couple of spots, already losing 3 since the drop of the green flag.
And we got a potential pass for the lead. Tesoro back on the bottom going into turn 1. I mentioned what a sharp braking point that is into that corner. Tesoro used that to his advantage. He just barely outbroke the number 17 machine, got out in front of him. Now he's comfortably into the lead. And the troubles don't end for the number 17 either. He's got Phillip right behind him in that 99, and he is looking to move up one step on the podium. Single file out front, but like you said, you mentioned Nick Kessler getting into the wall just a lap or two ago. That doesn't really surprise me. I was watching him in practice, and that truck does not look like it's handling very well. Something about that setup just does not seem to be jiving with him. It looks real tight going through the corners, and we know Kessler's a really talented driver, so you kind of got this dichotomy of a guy who can really wheel a truck, and a truck that looks like it doesn't want to be wheeled, and I'm curious to see what he can do with it. Maybe he can make some adjustments and come down pit road later on, but man, this is not a track where you can miss the setup.
No, that number 88 is sliding back. There is the number 28 machine of Adam Dama on the top side of the racetrack. The burnt orange number 28. Now he's under fire from the 15 of Clifton. Clifton, a really good-looking race truck right there. Mav TV on the side of his Chevrolet doing battle with this F-150. You're not missing anything up at the front. Pretty much single file all between the top five. This is the best battle for position on the entire racetrack right now.
Oh boy!
Oh, geez. We're going to see that a couple times here tonight, Andre. That's going to be a typical one there out of turn number 2, as Vincent Valvano is getting around the number 25 machine of Randy Perdue a little bit further back in the field. +2 already for Vincent Valvano, running 22nd right now.
I tell you what, turn 2, it seems like the truck, for all of these guys, it wants to do everything except what it's supposed to do. Either it wants to get tight and slide up to the wall, or it wants to get loose and shoot down towards that pit lane entrance that's down there, but it doesn't ever feel like it just wants to come out of the corner and arc up naturally like you'd hope. So it's one of the things that makes this track so tough, and I think you're right, that was the first time we've seen it tonight, probably not going to be the last. Let's ride on board for a lap here and see what these guys are dealing with. You can see they're trying to get down to that yellow line. I think that is ideal to get to that yellow line, but it's so tough. This track, again, it wants you to just slide up. A lot of these guys are going to be fighting tight. You see he's just about half a lane up from that yellow line, not quite able to straddle it like you'd hope. But still, when everybody's struggling, and I guess nobody is, because that's the line they're all running, going into turn 1. Look at how early he starts braking there, Peter.
Yeah, Nick Kessler really has to roll out of the throttle, and oh, you just saw that right there. Got a little bit squirrely out of turn number 2. We're going to start to see that as well come into the mix. As the number 11, Chris Darling, something must have happened to the front end of the MaxGrafix machine. You see it all crinkled in. We'll have to see, maybe we can find the recipient of that contact. We'll look for some rear end damage on one of the other cars. Usually that's a telltale sign of car rear ending another one. So the number 11, though, Chris Darling, who finished on the podium last week at Homestead, Miami, got 3rd spot in the MaxGrafix.co F-150. Great job by Chris Darling there. Not the best start here tonight, but already picking up 5 positions. Meanwhile, stuff's happening up here. Something must have happened to Martin Plute. Look at Stan Hausman splitting up through the middle. Well, let's see if we can go back and figure out what just happened. Julian Tesoro also has lost the lead in the last lap or so. So a lot just happened here. What just happened here to Martin Plute?
Yeah, let's dial it up on the 3-wide TV replay, see exactly what happened. I saw a lot of smoke, so I'm assuming just got loose through 1 and 2. So coming into the corner, he's got the 97 right underneath of him. Has to take a bit of a high entry. And right there, you can see the rear end of the car is a little unsettled, but some contact is going to help him around. Both drivers able to gather it up, but man, they had to lift a lot for that to happen. And while they're pretty much no worse for it in terms of damage, they did bleed some track position. Going back to the front end of that truck that you're looking for the recipient of the damage, don't think you got to look much further than Mashburn. He's got a bent-in rear end. But going back to this replay, look at that. Just a little tap to the left rear quarter panel. Sends him around. Look at that counter steer, though. That is perfect driving by the number 8 to gather that thing up and prevent that from going any further than it did. Counter steering not once but twice. Both of them saving. I mean, that was just a racing deal, and you're going to have that going into this corner. It's so easy to get underneath somebody and think you're going to make the perfect dive bomb, and then you feel like a superhero until you lose a grip, and then you realize, man, there ain't nothing I can do to stop this one-way train to the top.
You know, up at the front of the field, Tristan Maher getting a little bit of breathing room now over Philip Scott, who recently got around Julian Tesoro. So Tesoro now sliding back to 3rd. If you're a Julian Tesoro fan and you're watching the race here on 3-Wide TV tonight, we want to make sure that you have your opportunity to join us in the 3-Wide TV chat. We got Ryder Lee Angle, Martin Plute, and Johnny Williams joining us in the 3-Wide TV chat here tonight. Folks, how are you doing? Hopefully you're having a good night as Tesoro starts to close back in on the number 99 machine. Let's look a little bit further back. This is around those trucks you were just mentioning. Ben Mashburn there in the number 4. We got pizza on the hood this season. Bright yellow, you can't miss that number 4 truck. And he has now slid back to the 12th position. Was a little bit tired just a moment ago. Chris Darling inside the top 10 now, trying to go to work on the backside of the number 8 of Martin Plute. Meanwhile, up in front of him, the number 2 of Justin White side by side with the number 97. It's taken about 13, 14 laps or so, Andre, for this race to really kick into high gear, but it seems like we got side-by-side action now all over the racetrack.
Yeah, you don't got to look far to see a battle on track. I mean, from the front to the back, everybody's really just duking it out for position. And this 97, it seems like he cannot escape these battles. He's pretty much been door-to-door with somebody or another for the last handful of laps. He finally makes the move there, gets the position. And behind him, look at this! Oh no! The 8 truck almost up and over. And he's going to hit the inside wall. A little bit more damage there. Everybody scrambles around him. Man, oh man, he just about flipped it. You don't see that very often at Rockingham.
That reminds me of Carl Long back in the day. He is one person that I know who went up and over here at the Rockingham Speedway, right here on Thunder Alley. And you know what, Andre? We're going to have to get, I think, the 3-Wide TV blimp cam out on this one, because I'm not all too convinced that wasn't just some net code. We'll see here. 3-Wide TV blimp cam always tells the story. Martin Plute there coming down the backstretch. Ooh, there was a little bit of contact there between the 11 and the 77, but then there was definite daylight between the 8 and the 77. I think that's good old iRacing net code there for you. Unfortunately, Martin Plute going around, our winner of the Stay Tuned Sports 300 back at Daytona a couple of weeks ago, was trying to get the win here tonight in the Simbox 150. That will definitely make it more difficult. Meanwhile, out there on the racetrack, interesting pit strategies amongst the field here, Andre. Field pretty much split 50-50 on whether or not you came down pit road or not.
Yeah, I mean, we're only on lap 20. I think it's how much these guys are valuing tire wear and how much they think it's going to help them out. I think you mentioned at Daytona that this league does have a tire limit, although it is relatively generous, so you don't have to worry too much about using up all your sets. But I think coming down pit road is probably the right move, Peter. 20 laps at Rockingham. It may not be much at other tracks, but they were probably feeling that tire wear about 5 to 6 laps ago, let alone all the way up at lap 20.
Yeah, just trying to get an understanding on how many tire sets that they have here tonight, just so everyone back at home will know. I'm just looking. I'm not seeing anything, honestly, that will indicate that they have too few tire limits, so I think that they'll be fine on tire sets here tonight, that's for sure. We got Rose saying it's not scrolling like it normally does. Rose, thank you very much. I can fix that. I just need to reboot it, and it should do that. I do apologize for that. Thank you very much for letting me know there in the chat. It should start working now. There we go. It moved over. I appreciate the comment. Darian Caitlin in the chat saying, let's go, Adam Dama. Adam Dama in the field here tonight. Good qualifying run for Dama. Was one of those drivers, though, that came down pit road, and it's now going to be mired deep in the field for this upcoming restart here. Only one caution inside the opening 25 laps. And thank you for joining us here on 3-Wide TV here tonight for the Simbox 150. If you have not checked out Simbox, you want a custom button box for iRacing, or maybe Andre, maybe you know someone special in your life who does want a button box and be a perfect gift. Check out facebook.com/SimboxPC to go check out those button boxes that they have. Really cool and really good prices as well on those button boxes.
And I can't tell you how hopeful they are for sim racing. I know you might think, why do I need a button box? Well, let me tell you, most of these cars, especially if you get into road racing side of things, they have so many different functions and features that most of the time you have to have tied to your keyboard, and it's like, no, you don't want to be reaching over your wheel trying to hit the keyboard. You got that button box right there by your wheel. You got all the switches and levers that you could ever need in a car, and the convenience factor, the quality of life is just so improved when you have one of them. So I can concur there. As they roll through 3 and 4, I believe the lights are off on the pace car, so not a very long caution. We're wasting no time to get back green. It's going to be Tristan Maher leading the way to the green flag. He had a very good start on the initial start. Let's see if he can replicate that magic here on restart number 1. And he's going to get on the loud pedal. A little bit squirrely, a little bit of wheel spin, but nonetheless, he gets out in the front. And he's got no competition from behind as second place goes side by side. We've got Stan Hausman side by side with Philip Scott, and we've got Mike Tellier trying to make it 3 wide, maybe coming down Thunder Alley. Look at that run from the 97.
That number 97, a lot of horsepower underneath the hood. Got a pink mobile, and I'll tell you what, bringing all the Hello Kitty to the front is the number 97 of Mike Floppy Tellier. Then to Toyota Tundra right there into third on this restart. Stan Hausman riding in the 4th position. So now we're going to have to start wondering about those drivers on the fresher tires. Where are they? Julian Tesoro was the first driver on fresh tires, currently running in the 15th position. There he is behind Jimbo Casterline right there on your screen. The Stay Tuned Sports. Actually, excuse me, I thought that was Jimbo. That is Matt Cherry, the other Stay Tuned Sports podcast truck in the field here tonight. Very similar paint scheme on Jimbo and Matt Cherry's machine. Matt started deep in the field. But, we got one car off the racetrack back there. Who was that? Couldn't quite make that out. Was that Jeremy Richmond? It was Jeremy. Right there on the inside in the number 98 truck. Let's see if we can dial up this replay. See if we can figure out exactly what happened to Jeremy Richmond again. Turn number 2 is going to be the problem corner here tonight from the looks of things, Andre.
It absolutely will. Let's go ahead and take a look at the replay. I believe he was right underneath Martin Plute. And yeah, just caught the bump at the wrong angle. Gets a nice slap to the driver's side on that safer barrier. Keeps it going, though. Not too much damage. Not a big deal. Just going to have to get his rhythm. But speaking of Martin Plute, I was going to mention under yellow, I was looking at that number 8, and I'm thinking, man, am I crazy, or is that truck not that beat up after the 2 or 3 hard hits that he took in that wreck? And I guess I'm not crazy, Peter, because not only does it not look that damaged after all that, but he is aggressively carving his way through the field. Right now, making his way around the number 5, Matt Cherry. He's been making passes since the drop of the green. I mean, consistently 1 or 2 cars per lap. So he's still got a lot of speed in that machine. His night might not be over.
Yeah, his night might not be over. We said it might make it a little bit more difficult, but so far looking good. Meanwhile, here comes the number 11 of Chris Darling, one of the drivers who came down onto pit road, took on fresh tires in his F-150. Darling battling right now with Julian Tesoro. Tesoro is the first driver on fresh tires, now looking to make a move on the number 14 here of Jeff Price as they head towards turn number 1, makes that pass look easy. So Darling trying to become that first driver on fresh tires, which will continue to pay dividends as this race continues to go green. Only one caution in the opening 30 laps. But we almost had number 2. We are about to have number 2 as Tesoro gets sent up into the wall.
That is 2 hard hits to the engine bay. Tesoro got hit right into the wall, and then as he was spinning out, somebody got him right in the nose. That's going to be substantial damage for our pole sitter. Dialing up on the replay, we'll take a closer look at what happened. I mean, we got 5 cars under a blanket, 6 cars under a blanket going into the corner here. Looks like just a little bit of contact from the 4 to the 42 bottlenecks everything. And once that bottleneck occurs, it's just a domino effect. Nowhere for any of these guys to go. You almost think the 30 is going to make it through, but right there, when the bed of the 42 comes back around and taps the right rear quarter panel, that swings him around, and a bad wreck gets worse right there. You got the 29 machine, nowhere to go for him. I mean, that's unfortunate for the 29 as well. You got to think he's coming around the corner, can't see anything but smoke and sheet metal, and then all of a sudden he's got a car in his cockpit. That's a rough situation. We're going to go on board with, I believe, the number 8 truck. As he's going into the corner, the calamity is going to happen right in front of him. And he's going to move up high. The 30 truck moves up there but bounces right off the wall. What a close call. Wow.
Yeah, Martin Plute definitely getting lucky on that particular instance, but let's see if we can see what happened here. Ben Mashburn, yeah, there's that stack up right there. I think the 4 kind of let off, potentially to let the truck to his inside on through, and it just kind of caused a stack up behind him, and that accordion, unfortunately, not good for our pole sitter here tonight. Julian Tesoro, is the number 30, is on pit road right now, hoping to get as much damage fixed as possible. As the second half of the field, the first half of the field all came down onto pit road under the first caution. Well, now the second half of the field has all pitted inside the opening 32 laps, with the exception of 2 drivers. One of those being Jeff Clifton in the number 15 that you see right now, who is your race leader, and the number 88 of Nick Kessler in the Taz Racing Customs Chevrolet Silverado there in second. Meanwhile, back behind them, Nick Kessler having some connection issues there. Looks like he's still having connection issues. But Chris Darling pitted on lap number 19. Martin Plute behind him, involved in the first caution. Back inside the top 5. If you would have asked me that, Andre, I would have said there's no way Martin Plute's going to be back inside the top 5 in the opening 35 laps. But there he is in that number 8 machine, running in 4th.
That's one of the reasons this track is so great. I mean, it's such a driver's track that you don't always have to have a pristine vehicle. You don't always have to have the best setup underneath you. I mean, you could have a little bit of damage and still compete, just because the speed doesn't necessarily come from your aerodynamics or anything else like that. It comes from track knowledge, it comes from raw ability, and with this, getting a little bit of help with strategy with some of them guys in front of them coming down pit road gives them a little bit of a booster up towards the front. So a lot of these guys that have damage or have been involved in these accidents, I mean, you can't count them out. This is too much of a driver's track to let a little bit of body work hold you back.
That is for sure. And of course, with these drivers managing their tires here tonight as well, that is going to be interesting to see how that damage might affect Martin Plute's ability to save tires, if at all. As the pace car lights, they turn off here. We're getting set to go back green flag on lap number 35 of the 150 that we have scheduled here in the Simbox 150 here tonight. Brotherhood Racing in the chat, rooting on Mikey and Joe, number 32 and 187. Let's see if we can go check out Mikey Williams here tonight. There is the number 32 machine, a little bit further back in the field, running in the 24th position right now. And rooting on the number 187 as well of Joe Misch. And Joe currently inside the top 15 in the 13th position. One storyline that we have not talked about here tonight, Andre, is our reigning series champion, winner last week at Homestead Miami Speedway, is not here tonight. Jason Gracias unable to attend here. So we'll see, hopefully, Gracias next week, but third place in points, not in tonight's running here at Rockingham Speedway. As the pace car pulls off, Andre, we're going green.
And they are going to head towards the flag stand, maybe wait a little minute before we go green. There he goes, bottleneck in the field, kind of a bit of a strategy call, but look at that, Darling on the bottom, taking advantage. He's going to get to the inside of Kessler, and now securely into second. They are single file for the lead. Martin Plute now challenging Kessler. Remember, Kessler's kind of been struggling with the handling of that car, so curious to see what he does up front. 3 wide into turn number 3, and somehow they're able to sort it out, and they're going to work their way into the trial. And look at this, Christopher Darling for the lead as the 8 makes a move for second. We got battles everywhere.
Battles all over the racetrack, drivers on different tire strategies. This is what we love to see here in the National Sim Racing Association on 3 Wide TV. Darling to the inside, the MaxGrafix.co Ford F-150 looking for the lead. Martin Plute, who in that number 8 machine was turned around on the backstretch a little while ago, trying now to get around the number 15 of Jeff Clifton, as Clifton starting to slide back on the older tires. He has not pitted here so far in the opening 37 laps. Behind him, Nick Kessler and Doug Milliner. How about this driver right here in the number 6 F-150? We mentioned at the top of the show that Doug Milliner was starting shotgun on the field, scored in 30th position here tonight at the drop of the green flag. Just cracked the top 4. What a crazy, crazy start for Doug Milliner, who has, yes, folks, a underwear emporium. That's right. Doug Milliner's Underwear Emporium sponsored a race here a season or two ago in the National Sim Racing Association, now sporting the Mark Martin-inspired Folgers F-150 scheme. But a great start for him as he looks to the outside here of Jeff Clifton, and he's going to take away third plus 27 positions in just 38 laps.
Definitely a contender for driver of the race early on. What an incredible march through the field that Folgers machine has had. But looking a little bit ahead of him, not far ahead, I might add, I'm still watching Martin Ploot. He is right there on Chris Darling, trying to take away the lead. Seems like he's a little bit better in 1 and 2. And then Christopher Darling gets that time back in 3 and 4. So they're better at opposite ends of the track, but overall very closely paced. And then again, I'm just so impressed. When I saw that number 8 take not 1 but 2 hard hits, I'm like, man, he's done. But here he is battling for the lead. And speaking of battles, as we look through the field, look at this. The number 6 under fire, Tristan Maher sends it down low, a little bit sideways, and the number 6 concedes the position. He's going to drop back and forth. And man, every time I see those dive bombs into turn 1, Peter, it makes me a little bit nervous because you know as well as I do, all it takes is just a few extra mile an hour, entering just a little bit too low, and that car is going to fast track to that top lane, and there's not a whole lot you can do to stop it, as we saw earlier with the 97 trying to make the move. And speaking of Mike Tellier, look at this. He's also going to make his way around the number 6, up into P4, right behind Tristan Maher, and we have a battle for third.
Yeah, Maher getting really slideways out of turn number 2. We saw some contact a couple of laps ago. We saw it on a brief 3-wide TV replay with Ben Mashburn getting into the back of Philip Scott. Scott able to keep the truck underneath him. We'll see if that affects the number 99 machine. Scott currently running outside the top 10 in 13th. That is 10 spots lower than where he started here tonight. Tellier there running behind the number 17. Meanwhile, back behind, and here comes Matt Cherry, another driver who started deep in the field. In fact, these two drivers of Cherry and Milliner started here tonight in 28th and 30th positions, and both of them inside the top 6 here. So extremely impressive start for these two competitors here in the Simbox 150 as we continue to click laps away. Adam Dama a little bit further back in the field, just outside the top 10, battling with Justin White, who was battling inside the top 10 a little while ago. But for Justin White, just came down pit road on lap number 31. There's Nick Kessler, one of the two drivers with Jeff Clifton there in the 15. The 15 that you see kind of leading this train, still on the tires that he started with. Nick Kessler in that same boat, but now you could kind of expect this, Andre. They're now sliding back through the field here as the laps continue to click away.
Yeah, I mean, we're all the way up to lap 46 now. If you haven't taken tires yet, you're probably losing well over a second on your lap time. So they're slipping back, but at the end of the day, they are saving themselves some tires. He said there is a limit, but it is generous. So they're not really too worried about it. But hey, if it comes down to it and we have a lot of cautions, you never know. You might need them. So we'll see what the strategy call is going to be. I think when it comes to trying to predict how many yellows there's going to be and what your strategy is going to kind of play out like based upon that is going to be really difficult because we've had a lot of green flag racing and then we've had kind of a string of cautions. It kind of has been both ways tonight. We'll have to wait and see. But I think, speaking of tires, I think Martin Ploot is doing just a slightly better job preserving the tires that he has versus our leader, Chris Darling, because it seems like in the corners, he's got a little bit more rotation. He can hold it down to that yellow line a little bit better. He's closing in corner after corner. Now he's pretty much right on the bumper. And on the straightaways, he doesn't really have quite an advantage because he does have a little bit of damage. It is holding him back. But in these corners, man, look at that. Just half a lane lower, closing the gap, waiting for the right opportunity to strike. This number 8 truck is making his bid.
Yeah, Martin Ploot started this race in the 4th position, and you know, we talk about him getting turned around on the backstretch, but we also have to go back to when he had that contact in turn number 1 and 2 with the number 97 of Mike Floppy Telly, and he was able to save that truck with a stellar save. Ploot has had one heck of a start to this race as we will be 1/3 race distance here just 1 lap from now in the Simbox 150. So it's been a little bit of a storybook so far for Martin Ploot. Now he's under fire, though, from Tristan Maher, earlier race leader here tonight, as they head to turn number 3 and 4. Chris Darling officially going to lead the 1/3 race distance here at the Rockingham Speedway. This battle for second right here. We're again seeing battles kind of all around the racetrack all of a sudden start to pop up, even inside the top 20. We got a great battle a little bit further back for 15th through 20th. We'll focus on that here in just a moment, as Ploot able to cut down and hold on to that 3rd position. If you're wondering back at home, what was that, Andre?
The number 8 got a heck of a shove through the corner. Mike Tellier not wasting a second. He's being real aggressive trying to get into 3rd here.
Well, I was going to mention that Tellier and Maher both pitted on lap number 31, so 12 lap fresher tires on the 17 and the 97, then the 11 and the 8. So that's going to be a pretty big advantage here at this particular racetrack. 8 lap on tires doesn't sound like, or 12 lap, on tires doesn't sound like a whole lot, but here it is for sure. As the 17 of Maher looking for the race lead out of turn number 2, not quite able to do so as the racetrack.
Oh, we got a wreck in front of him.
Jeremy Richmond going around is what I'm hearing. Let's see if we can figure out what happened to Jeremy Richmond to bring out caution flag here. Number 98 machine here coming off of turn number 2, Andre. And, how's that Jimbo? Oh, man, that has to be netcode there again, Andre. We've seen netcode get a couple of them, and unfortunately caught that number 98 machine. Yeah, lots of front-end damage smoking on that number 98 machine. That might be night done for Jeremy Richmond.
You know, I'm not so sure it was netcode. It almost looks like he scared him into flicking the steering wheel. I'm going to take a closer look at this. It might have been netcode, but as he comes out of the corner, he's got the number 18 truck. Now watch this. The 18 gets a little loose, and he's going to slide down towards this truck. But it looks to me like right here, he's already turning down to avoid him. Nope, there is netcode right there. The bed of the truck lifted up. You were absolutely right there, Peter. Just a little bit of not a little bit. That was a good 3 or 4 feet of netcode. And unfortunately, that is going to be the end of his night. That car is just totaled.
Yeah, netcode is... I hate netcode when it gets you, when it jumps out and bites you. Here we go, on board with the number 98 machine. You see right there, he felt like he was clear, and it just caught him there. Unnerved the truck, got into the outside wall, and ended up being a ping pong ball all the way down the back straight. Tough break for Jeremy Richmond here tonight, as your race leaders not coming down pit road this time. Number 28 machine that you saw right there getting one of his laps back. That is Adam Newton, who is our Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner under this caution flag. Gets one of his laps back in that Toyota Tundra, currently being scored in the 28th position here, about 5 laps behind our race leaders. It's not been the 29 was hoping for, but hopefully he can get a couple more of those laps back before this is all said and done, courtesy of our friends Brookstone Animal Hospital in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area. Well,
it's going to be... go ahead.
I was just going to say, Andre, it's going to be interesting to see how the different tire strategies now work out with some drivers. Again, the field kind of splitting again on tire strategy.
Yeah, it is really interesting to see. A lot of times in these races, you see a little bit more uniformity, especially in these shorter races. 150 laps, not too long of a distance. Seems like when one guy pits, everybody else kind of feels the peer pressure. They're like, well, if he's getting tires, I might as well. But every caution we've had has kind of come out at an awkward time. It's kind of come out mid-stint in terms of tire wear. And it seems like everybody has a different idea of what they want to do. And it's really helped some guys. It's kind of bit some others. And you're right, it's going to be kind of a wild card factor. I think we're going to expect to see some longer green flag runs. I'm going to make a prediction, and I'm going to knock on wood so I don't give it the commentator's curse. But I think we're going to see longer green flag runs in the latter half of this race, Peter. The field is starting to calm down a bit, I think, as the attrition kind of gets some of these guys separated a little bit more, whether it's the damage kind of separating them on track or some drivers just having to take it down pit road. We're going to see the field thin out. We're going to see these guys kind of be almost strong-armed into being patient. They've seen how many incidents we've had, and they've seen where overdriving and being aggressive leads, and I think they're going to maybe take it easy for a little while here. That's my prediction. And if that happens, these guys that just took tires, that's the best move they could have made. And they're going to get up front eventually, sooner or later, and when they do, they're going to be able to pull away. Tires are huge here.
Yeah, we'll see whether or not your prediction comes to fruition. Julian Tesoro has joined us in the 3-wide TV chat here on YouTube. Unfortunately, Tesoro's pole not going to be backed up into a win, as the number 30 is off the racetrack after being involved in that accident a little while ago. Kind of mentioning, man, that was really unfortunate there, that caution flag. It seems like netcode is kind of not being all too kind here tonight. Not exactly sure what it is, but it seems like we've had a couple of instances where netcode has come out to bite people. As Chris Darling on the loud pedal, getting a little wheel spin there. You see that number 11 truck getting sideways. Mike Tellier thought about taking it 3 wide. Thinks better of it though in turn number 1.
I tell you what, I thought he was going to do it. I thought he was going 3 wide for a minute, but he made a good move backing out. He still got a shot at it here. That wheel spin was hellacious, though, Peter. And the longer these guys stay out and don't take tires, the more they're going to have to deal with that. And also, I'm looking at the track temp right now. It's a little bit hotter than it was at the start of the day. So not only are the tires a little bit more worn for some of these drivers, but the track's getting slicker and slicker. So if they're restarting all the way down in second gear, man, oh man, it's going to get tougher as the night progresses. But these guys in the back that took some tires, they didn't have that issue. As he gets a little bit sideways, Darling with a little bit of an issue, but man, oh man, I don't think anybody on track has been quite as hungry for the lead as Tellier in that 97. He's been real aggressive making these moves, wasting no time, trying to get down low, trying to look high, wherever he needs to be really to make an overtake. And that 97's got some speed in it. He just needs the track position, and I think he needs this thing to stay green. We've seen him have good long run speed tonight, but every time that truck starts to set in and he starts to make some overtakes, we get a yellow flag, and that's really not helping his cause. But he goes side by side with Darling down on that yellow line. He's got a few trucks in a freight train behind him. A little bit of draft help, maybe. Doesn't affect him too much at a track like this, but you never know. Side by side still to 1 and 2. Oh man, maybe a little scrape to the wall for Darling, but still not conceding the position. Look at this, no help on the bottom. The draft does play a bit of a factor there, Peter. He got hung out to dry, lost 3 truck lengths.
Yeah, Matt Cherry going to whip around the outside to move up into the top 3 here as well. Great move there by this Stay Tuned Sports F-150 there of Matt Cherry, who started, like we mentioned a little while ago, 28th here tonight. And speaking of Simbox, of course, we give out the Simbox Biggest Mover of the Race Award here in the National Sim Racing Association. And currently would be in position to pick up that Simbox Biggest Mover of the Race Award is Matt Cherry. Very impressive so far, as we are now about 13 laps away from seeing cross flags here at Rockingham Speedway. You might know it as North Carolina Speedway, as it was known when Roger Penske owned the racetrack, and it transitioned over to Rockingham Speedway for the last couple of years in the NASCAR Cup Series, as Matt Cherry makes the move now to get up into second. Very impressive by Cherry, pitted on lap number 31 here tonight. And now the question is going to become, how about those drivers who pitted on lap number 54, Andre? Well, this driver right here, the number 15 of Jeff Clifton, Clifton pitted on lap number 54. He's the first driver on the lap number 54 tires, and you can see he's slicing and dicing his way through the field as he's on the back of the grinds number 2 here of Justin White.
He's going to have to be patient. I know he's got those fresh tires and he wants to make moves. Obviously, you got to strike while the iron's hot and use those tires while they're fresh, but he's got trucks 2 and 3 wide in front of him. I mean, it's just a gaggle, and really, you gotta pick your fights. So here he goes to the outside. He's able to get to the outside of the number 2, but he's still got the number 8 right in front of him, kind of holding him up. So really, all he can do is wait for the field to sort him out, which is unfortunate because there is a lot of speed in that machine with those fresh tires. Here he goes again to the outside, but that number 8 truck just rocking that high line. There is nowhere for him to go unless he wants to take it 3 wide. So it's going to be a game of patience, and probably more than a little frustrating for him to have these guys battling in front with older tires, but that's racing, man. You never know what's going to happen. Sometimes you just got to play the hand that you're dealt.
Behind Jeff Clifton, you find the number 47 of Dalton Hayes and Travis White, number 23. White trying to go around the outside. Travis White, that is, as Clifton again boxed in between the two and the number 8 machine, just trying to wait to see who's going to win that battle. Speaking of battle, a battle that we see seems like more often than not here in the National Sim Racing Association. Ben Mashburn and Christopher Darling duking it out here just inside the top 5. Darling holds on to 4th as they run. Mashburn in 5th, but they're trying to change that as, oh my goodness, they're getting all types of slideways out of turn number 2 at the top of the screen.
Oh no, it's not over yet. The number 8 gets a little bit of a bump from the number 2. They're both going to go sideways, and it looks like Clifton is still unable to make this overtake. He's trapped behind these guys, probably scared for his life after getting that shove from the 23. Man, oh man, these guys are really battling back here. I thought they were going to calm down. Maybe I was wrong. The 8 truck finally gets clear of the number 2, so they might be able to single file out, which would help Clifton. And now he's got the 23 to his outside, so it seems like no matter where he goes or what he does, he is completely boxed in. Darling goes side by side, a few trucks ahead of him. Looks like Chris Darling is maybe going to concede this position to Stan Hausman in the 39. He's going to move down to the bottom, take that position away, and they're going to single file out as Mashburn now is right on the charge. And they are 3 wide going into turn 3. Jeffrey Clifton got tired of waiting. No more being boxed in. He's going to use those fresh tires, and he makes a 3 wide double overtake.
You don't see that very often here at Rockingham Speedway. At least you don't see it very often without the whole field being wadded up in turn number 3. Clifton going to make that pass, move the number 15 up into 7th. I think he started to realize a little bit of pressure out back because those other drivers who had pitted on lap number 54 with him were closing in on his truck. So I think he's starting to feel a little bit of that pressure. One of those drivers is the number 88, and Nick Kessler, who's looking to the outside here of Martin Plute in turn number 1, just 4 laps away from halfway here, the cross flags at Rockingham Speedway as they race down Thunder Alley. Let's look a little bit further back. Some of these other drivers. There's Dalton Hayes behind Jeff Price. Meanwhile, side by side back here, that's Joe Meeshan, the number 42, Stephen McDonald. In front of them now, side by side between Dalton Hayes and Jeff Price. Some good battles happening all over this racetrack, most of them around this kind of 9th position all the way back to about 20th right now. Is a really good group of trucks duking it out for position. Some drivers on old tires, some drivers on new tires. It's just a matter of when you last came down pit road, and track position all playing a key here. That's been a really good race here. A couple of cautions, Andre, but for the most part, they've been keeping it clean, and if it wasn't for Netco rearing its head, we could very much be clean and green here so far tonight.
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal race. A lot of overtakes, a lot of action, and you're right. I think really the only downside to the action tonight has been the netcode, and there's really nothing you can do about that. I mean, that's really down to the iRacing servers and what kind of goes on there. The one incident we had with netcode, I mean, it was several feet. It was very, very unfortunate to have that happen, but the drivers themselves doing a phenomenal job keeping it clean. I mean, that move we saw from Jeffrey Clifton, that was incredible. To have those guys go 3 wide, and everybody was respectful enough to leave each other room and to make it through that corner without getting sideways, without wrecking, just goes to show the incredible talent in this field. And a little bit of internet issues on the 15. I seen him blink out of existence as he's making an overtake for 4th. He passed Cherry on the outside. You do not see overtakes on the outside at Rockingham very often, but that 15 truck, that thing is on a mission. But he's got a big gap. We got, for the first time tonight, quite a bit of separation from the top 3. Clifton in 3rd, but he's got about a second up to Mike Tellier. Tellier's got about another second up to the leader, Tristan Maher, in that Eclipse Photography number 17. Maher's really starting to check out. And I'll tell you what, that is going to be really beneficial if this stays green, because when you're the leader, you get to set the pace.
Andre, we got a wreck on the backstretch.
I cursed it.
Yeah, Dalton Hayes involved, Doug Milliner involved, and looks like Philip Scott in the number 99 machine. Let's see if we can go back and get this one here on the 3-wide TV replay and see if we can break down what might have happened here. This was around the 15th or so position, I do believe. And there's Doug Miller, number 6 machine. Dalton Hayes going up the racetrack, and that would have been contact. Can't blame netcode on this one. The 6 of Milliner gets loose. The 47 gets sideways. The 99 of Scott really nowhere to go, and into the inside wall. Dalton Hayes boinking the inside wall as well. Tough break for a couple of these drivers. Let's see if we can go on board with Philip Scott and see if we can get his view of this incident here, Andre.
Tell you what, it has not been Philip Scott's night. He's had some terrible luck getting into the corner. A little bit of a bump there. That's just kind of a result of that braking zone being as abrupt as it is. But right here, 47 gets tagged, and I mean, there's nowhere for Philip Scott to go. He could have tried to turn left, could have tried to turn right, but that truck, it was set on its path. There was no reaction time there. Just a victim of circumstance. We go on board from another perspective here. I believe this is the 88. And a little bit of a tap there. Gets him into the outside wall. And then, it was the number 6. I apologize. And he, just a little love tap. He's all right.
Yeah, Milliner will get some of his damage fixed under this particular caution flag, just falling just after the halfway mark. You see all the field, pretty much all of the field working their way back up onto the racing surface right now. We did have a couple of stragglers stay out, including Joe Misch in the 187 and Adam Dama. They will be your first and second place cars, presumably when we go back green here in a few laps. Third place, though, Tristan Maher just came off of pit road here, so Tristan taking that opportunity to come down and get some extra tires. Will Ratcliffe in the chat saying, poor Scott, he had such a great race last night. Of course, the National Sim Racing Association was here last night at the Rockingham Speedway. I believe Philip Scott actually went to victory lane in that race. So he had it figured out in the Grand National Series, the Beer Street Journal Grand National Series, but unfortunately not able to back that up here tonight in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. And speaking of Stay Tuned Sports Podcast, we got James Casterline in the chat out of the race truck here. Definitely not Jimbo's night. Jimbo, I wouldn't put that accident on you. It was definitely netcode there about 30-40 laps ago now. Unfortunately, though, a couple of drivers in those particular accidents. Just checking to see if Mikey Williams might be our lucky dog, maybe, or maybe Adam Newton. We'll see if we can figure out who the lucky dog is here in just a moment, Andre. But I think it's going to be the number 29 machine picking up another Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award here, as he is currently sitting, well, he's still 5 laps down, so I take that back. Maybe it was Mikey Williams in the number 32 machine. He's getting all of his damage fixed on that racetrack. Still looking pretty good, but took some extra time on pit lane to get it fixed up.
And it's really difficult to get that car fixed up at Rockingham. I mean, the pace laps aren't very long. By the time you get to your pit stall and the team starts beating out the bodywork, that pace car is probably already headed down the backstretch. You ain't got very long before it might threaten to put you a lap down. So these guys got to take the damage repairs when and where they can. So very smart move there by him to go ahead and get that fixed, get back on track, and potentially be the lucky dog. Again, not entirely certain, but it looks like lights are off on the pace car, and it is going to make its hard left turn. This time the field is in the hands of Joseph Misch in the number 187 truck for the first time tonight. He's going to get a great start. Meanwhile, Adam Dama on the outside, a little bit of a wheel spin. That's going to allow the 17 to dive it down low. Matt Cherry in tow, also going to make his way around Dama as the high line just completely checked up. Contact between Jeffrey Clifton and Adam Dama. That's going to bottleneck the field even more. They're able to sort themselves out. They are side by side for 4th and for 5th. Almost 3 wide for a moment as Stan Hausman thinks better of it back there. Man, what a chaotic restart.
A chaotic restart indeed. Dama all the way up into the inside wall. Here comes the number 17, Tristan Maher, looking for the race lead. Oh, Chris Darling in the inside wall right there. All of a sudden, things just happening all over the racetrack. Maher finally able to get to the inside of Joe Misch right here. And I take that back. Maher gets really loose. Going to lose a ton of time. Now Matt Cherry going to go for the race lead here as Nick Kessler has worked his way up into third. What a wicked and crazy 4 laps.
Yeah, it was almost hard to find all the action in that because it was so much going on all at once. But Tristan Maher was making the move for the lead, and he got loose coming out of 4, which we actually haven't seen too often tonight. He was down on the apron, had to concede a few positions. He settled into 4th. Like you said, that allowed Matt Cherry to take the lead, and the battle for 2nd is about to intensify. I believe Joseph Misch is on older tires. Meanwhile, Nick Kessler has a little bit of speed in that 88. He's been closing in. I think it's going to be a battle for 2nd. If they get side-by-side battling, that kind of serves an opportunity for Maher to get up there and try to take that position that he lost back. But look at this, Mike Tellier not letting Maher get away easily either. I mean, he's right there in that 97 truck as they go side-by-side in front of these guys. Battles all over the track, and this is exactly what the number 5 of Matt Cherry wants, Peter. He wants these guys to battle. He wants these guys to be just at each other's throats because that's allowing him to get a bit of a lead here.
Matt Cherry did not make the chase for the National Sim Racing Association Stage Team Sports Podcast Truck Series season last season. He missed that chase, but was given an opportunity to join that chase, rolled off a couple of wins in the chase. Unfortunately, did not end up winning the title, but could he go to victory lane here early in the season? Was winless until the chase last season. Cherry trying to knock one out here pretty early in the season. That would be good for him as number 15 now of Jeff Clifton starts to slide back in the field. Chris Darling trying to work his way around him. Stan Hausman has got around Joe Misch as Misch now in danger of falling outside of the top 10.
Looking a little bit further up from those guys, the 17 gets loose again, and that's going to allow Tellier in the 97 to get down low. He will complete the pass for 3rd before he gets to turn 1, so he's going to take a bit of a low entry, slide up here, but he is secure into 3rd. I don't know what's going on with that 17, man. He was so fast earlier. Now it just seems like that thing is wicked loose everywhere he goes. Every time he tries to get into the corner, that thing is just trying to slide out on him. So maybe went the wrong way on some pit adjustments.
I just think that maybe Maher... Oh, there was contact. I saw a little bit of contact there. Jeff Clifton and the 11 of Chris Darling bouncing off of one another in that battle for the 5th position right now. Seems like there's things happening all the way around this racetrack. It's really, really wicked and fast, and I mean, we still got 60 laps to go, folks. Just calm down out there on the racetrack. There's plenty of time to make some passes, but I think these drivers are trying to get as much out of them as they can early in the run. Because I've done that before, Andre. This racetrack, it tends to be a little bit of a balance when it comes to your tires, because you don't want to just let everyone by easy peasy. You can't just let everyone go on by, because then you end up way back in the field. Even if you've been saving your tires, then you have a tough time of passing everyone to work your way back to the front. You end up eating through your tires trying to make those passes. So you kind of have to be smart about letting people pass here, letting your car roll through the center to try and save tire. It's a tough balance, that's for certain. Stan Hausman now trying to find that balance to get around the number 11 of Chris Darling. Looks like he will. Great run so far for the BeerStreetJournal.com number 39. Stan Hausman here tonight, closing his way in on the top 5 position if he could get around Jeff Clifton just up the road, and that's really good out of Stan Hausman. I've been following Stan for the last couple of seasons here at the National Sim Racing Association, I've seen nothing but improvement out of that driver. Really, really impressive here, running 6th right now in that really, really good-looking racetrack.
I just want to add, I just looked at the track temp. Remember, it was 128 when we started. Last time I looked, about 50 laps ago, it was up to about 130. About 130. Now it's up to 132 degrees, which is really getting up there. I mean, if the viewers at home have ever raced on iRacing, they've used the service, they know how much just a couple of degrees can affect the handling of your vehicle. And to be 4 degrees up from where we started when the track was already blazing hot to begin with, I can see why some of these guys are sliding around a little bit more than what we expected. The 17 especially just seems to be fighting loose, still has a lot of speed regardless. I mean, he's holding on to 4th. He is putting up lap times competitive with the leader. In fact, all of the top 4 are pretty much laying down identical lap times right now. But it's going to be a matter of knowing the limits of your truck. We talked about, making the choice of trying to save your tires, but also don't let the entire field by easy. That's kind of the same thing with choosing your lines. I mean, you want to have a little bit of security. You maybe want to drive a little bit easier for the purpose of safety and consistency. You don't want to overdrive. You don't want to get sideways, because that's an issue that snowballs. The more you slide, the hotter your tires get, the more you slide. It's a self-fulfilling cycle. So you got to kind of take it easy, but you don't want to take it too easy. You have to find the exact limits of your truck and of your ability. And man, that is not an easy task.
It is definitely not an easy task. And, going back to the number 17 of Tristan Maher, he's kind of balanced out now in the 4th position. But I just wonder, Andre, maybe he got sideways out of turn number 4, heated up the rear tires, which then caused them to lose grip, which then caused them to slide the tires again coming out of turn number 4, and he's had to wait a little while to get those tires back cooled off and back underneath him, because a hot racing tire is not good for keeping that machine underneath you. We got Stay Tuned Sports in the chat saying, let's go Cherry and Chris, and Julian Tesoro saying, just Cherry. Julian Tesoro in the chat making his voice heard here tonight. But folks, what are your thoughts about this racetrack? It's one of my favorites, and I know it's one of yours, Andre, and I'd be curious to know what the chat has to think about this particular racetrack. You just see how bumpy it is. It makes it, in my opinion, a lot of fun to drive. And one thing about the track is that turns number 1 and 2 race very different than turn number 3 and 4. Turn number 1 and 2 feel a lot more narrow, a lot slower than turn number 3 and 4. I've always felt like turn number 3 and 4, Andre, feel like you're on a super speedway in comparison to turn number 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah, and that kind of makes it so you feel a little bit more confident in 3 and 4, but that confidence sometimes comes back to bite you. If you get a little bit greedy going into the corner, you're like, okay, it's a sweeping corner, it's a wide exit, it's not this tight exit that we got in 1 and 2. You go in just a little bit deeper than you did the last lap, and it works, and you think, okay, I'm going to go in even deeper next time, and eventually you find that limit, and this track will be the first to punish you for doing so. So they got to, keep themselves in check, as we got a side-by-side battle for 2nd place. Mike Tellier making the move on Kessler. Kessler has had a phenomenal stint ever since the drop of this green flag. That 88 has been impressing me. We saw him struggle so much in practice. We saw him struggle at the beginning of the race with the handling of that truck. And now he's putting down lap times just as competitive as anybody. He's figured that thing out, and he's actually able to get up into 2nd as Tellier gets loose, falls back to 4th. That's going to put the 17 up on the podium now. But yeah, that 88, something has changed, man. He is so much better now, and he is now on the hunt for the lead.
So you can see there at the bottom of your screen that Nick Kessler lost a couple of tenths of a second a couple of laps ago, but before that, all of his lap times were green. You can only imagine that was when Nick Kessler was locked in that battle with the 97 of Mike Floppy Tellier. Can Kessler now start to close in on Matt Cherry as the lap continues to wind down? Let's see what it was like that time. Nick Kessler brings up a green lap time, almost a tenth of a second. Kessler closing in on Matt Cherry, and look who's still poking around back there. That's the number 17 of Tristan Maher, also closing in on this battle. So, Andre, we might have a 3-way battle for the race lead here, a close 3-way battle for the race lead here in just a couple of laps. Just showing that tonight that the racing here has been stellar.
It always is at Rockingham. What do you expect? It's so great. I love this track. When this stint started out, we had a little bit of separation, and it seems like as this run has gone on, these guys have just closed that gap on each other, got on each other's bumpers, and they're not running flawless. Each driver's making mistakes here and there. The 17 gets loose, the 97 gets loose, the 87 or the 88 gets loose, and that kind of balances out. Everybody's struggling, and like I said earlier in the race, when everybody's struggling, nobody is. And man, that 17 right on the bump of the 88, he's got to give it a bit of a security lift halfway through the corner to make sure he doesn't get into the bumper. I do see some lap traffic in front of these leaders, not too far away, so if it stays green, and again, I'm going to knock on wood, because it seems like every time I say that we get a yellow, but if it stays green, they are going to get into some lap traffic, and that's going to tighten this battle up even more. And it's going to be tough to navigate lap traffic at this track in particular. It's not one lane, necessarily, but the lap traffic, it seems like once it starts, it never ends. It's not that big of a track. and the field is big enough, they're going to be dealing with that for quite a while, should it stay green. Maher moves to the top of the line, trying to figure out if he can use it to get around Kessler. And look at this, actually gets a run out of the corner using that high line, down into the braking zone of 1 and 2. He's going to be right at the door, gets the advantage now. A little bit sideways, though. Here comes the 88 now getting the run with a high line. He's not going to give it up. A little bit of a scrape to the wall for the 88 and a little bit loose for the 17. They both make a mistake. They're both going to stay side by side. The 88 rockets to the high line. Can he use this run to defend the position? Side drafting the 17. The 17 has the advantage at the line. But this battle's not over, Peter.
Yeah, this battle not over as Kessler gets into the outside wall. We caught that 3-wide. We were trying to catch a 3-wide TV replay of Jeff Clifton being put in the outside wall after some contact with the number 39 of Stan Houseman. Kessler looks like he's coming to pit lane right now. Adam Dama has also left the racetrack as well. Tough night for Adam Dama. Kessler here well off the pace. A bit of a surprise pit lane entry. Usually you wait till the exit of turn number 4 to dive onto the pit lane here. We'll see how that all works out. Maybe we're getting a round of pit stops here. Kessler definitely an early adopter if that's the case. Tough break for Kessler. Been moving his way up towards the race lead, but Cherry going to hold on for now. That's going to put the 17 of Maher back into second, and the number 97 Machine of Tellier back up into third as Jeff Clifton continues to slide. Look at all that right side damage that you see there, Andre, after that heavy contact with the outside wall, after contact with Stan Houseman in turn number 3 and 4.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see if that damage affects him in any way. But looking back up towards the front here, we've got a three-way battle for the lead. Mike Tellier, Tristan Maher, and of course Matt Cherry in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast number 5. These guys are battling it out for the lead, and look in the windshield of that number 5. They have pretty much reached this lap traffic. Give it a few more laps, they're going to be in the thick of it, and they got more cars ahead of those ones. So things definitely getting interesting, and I just want to go back to Kessler. I don't think that was a scheduled pit stop, Peter. That didn't scream scheduled pit stop. The way that he was off pace on the backstretch, I almost got to wonder if he didn't bend something. Maybe there were some alignment issues after he got into that outside wall. I didn't quite see how hard he hit it, but it really seemed like after he hit that wall, there was just something wrong with the truck. He didn't feel safe being on the racing surface, and he kind of dipped down.
Yeah, that number 88 machine is still on pit lane. It could be night done for Nick Kessler as we got this battle for the race lead. We finally were able to get another look there of that heavy contact by the number 15 machine with the outside wall in turn number 3. The number 5, though, Matt Cherry, is your race leader, goes all the way up to the top side of the racetrack to throw a big block on Tristan Maher. Maybe trying to figure out what Maher is doing out there on the racetrack as Tellier starts to creep in. But look at that 4th place truck right now. Extremely impressive. Just out of the shot here, that's Stan Houseman, the number 39 machine, as one of the lap trucks there going off the racing surface. That, I believe, is Gerald Baker the third, just going 1 lap down. Then the leaders on by. We're coming to 35 laps to go, just 35 miles left here in tonight's Simbox 150. I'm just wondering, though, here, Andre, we got to Matt Cherry, but let's bring up the graphic again. Let's see what the difference is from Matt Cherry to Stan Houseman out there right now. You see Houseman's closing in. He didn't quite close in the last lap because I think he had to get around the lap traffic of Gerald Baker the third, but he's closing in 1/10 to 2/10 of a second per lap in that number 39 machine. You can visibly start to see that that BearStreetJournal.com machine is closing in towards the battle for the race lead, although that time Stan Houseman 2/10 off as the 17 of Maher, all types of sideways out of turn 2.
All types of sideways indeed, and it seems like he lost 2/10 there. I'm not sure if that was down to the lap traffic was the reason he was maybe gaining earlier, but of course Rockingham, the lap times are going to fluctuate, so we'll keep an eye on him, see if he can reel these guys in. Definitely had a lot of pace. He's moved through the field quite a bit tonight. Mike Tellier, I'm not sure if he's led a lap yet tonight, but he's had such a strong truck, and he's made so many attempts to take the lead, and I really think he's got the speed to do it. The thing is, the race just has not stayed green long enough for him to use that long run speed that we've seen out of him. Now, he's got that advantage. We've been green for quite some time, Peter, and that 97 is really coming to life. The laps are winding down. Like you said, we're only at about 30 laps to go, but the action is not winding down. In fact, it's picking up, and that 97 is just gaining momentum right on the bumper of our leader. As we check in with a side-by-side battle, that's Chris Darling on the outside of that number 2. Grinds coffee pouches machine. He's going to make that overtake, and here we go for the lead, the 97. Door banging down the straightaway. Mike Tellier leads a lap. Coming into turn 1, the 15 is going to try to pinch him. The 97 slides up. I believe the 15 is going to get the advantage here, Peter. He's got a run on the high line, and back to the lead he goes. What a valiant effort by Tellier, but wow, that defense out of the leader was nothing short of impressive.
Yeah, Matt Cherry in the Stay Tuned Sports F-150 trying to hold on for dear life there. Tellier in second, then behind them Tristan Maher, the number 17. Stan Hausman starting to see all this in front of him, says, you know what, folks, you can start to battle with one another a little bit harder, because the more they do that, the more they start to bump and bang with one another, the more Hausman starts to join the mix. Now Tellier trying to go around the high side. Cherry trying to close them off. There might have been a little bit of contact out of turn number 4. And Tellier from Sarnia, Ontario, the number 97, sweeps around the outside. New race leader, Hello Kitty, to the front.
And maybe, oh man, Matt Cherry gets all kinds of sideways, slides back up in second. I'll tell you what, Peter, I thought he lost that on 3 separate occasions right there, but he saved it. He's side by side now with the 17. Tellier trying to utilize this chaos to drive away with it. Big run out of that number 17. Maher trying to get the position. But man, it seems like the high entry into turn 1 is really tough for these guys to pull off. The 17 did it really good there, but I've seen it all night, Peter. Somebody enters the corner, it's a little bit too high. They kind of enter on the marbles, and the truck doesn't like that, so it's always a bit of a risk, but it did work out for Tristan there as we check back in with Chris Darling in front of that number 2. Those guys haven't gotten away from each other, and right here, that's the number 4 machine. Ben Mashburn, I believe, buelled his outside, now behind him. And they're going to single file out, but they were battling. Mashburn's had a bit of a tough night tonight. He's kind of been battling with damage from the very beginning. As we go back side by side. Darling gets a little bit sideways there. The number 2 trying to utilize that to get back up on the bumper. Philip Scott behind them. Of course, he's been involved in a number of incidents tonight. Unfortunately, a lot of damage to that machine. Just trying to salvage some points, and with the way this race is going, I think anybody who's still on track has a good chance to salvage some points, Peter.
Yeah, all it takes is a caution or two. I mean, we've seen different pit strategies here tonight. It's been a little bit of a wild one. Adam Dama joining us in the chat now. One of our 3 Wide TV pit crew members with that special badge next to his name, just like Stay Tuned Sports. They're now rocking the bronze 3 Wide TV badge. Give a big shout out to Adam Badama saying not pitting under that last caution was a bad choice, because we've been green flag for quite some time now, Andre, and that has really allowed the different driver skill sets to kind of come to fruition. Those drivers able to save tires. Well, they're starting to move their way up through the field. Those drivers who use up their stuff a little bit too much early, they're starting to slide back, and it's created, I should say, some really good battles. Here comes Philip Scott, the number 99 National Ninja League F-150, looking to the inside of Justin White. Back behind him, that's Joe Misch. Misch currently being scored a couple of laps down. He was one of those drivers just like Adam Dama who did not pit under the last caution. He's kind of paying for it now. Big question here, Andre, though, is whether or not these drivers can make it all the way to the end of the race on fuel. That is going to be interesting, because if they do have to make a green flag pit stop, I would have thought they would have started coming down pit road now with just 23 laps to go. If they did have to pit again, at least Justin White there smacking the wall through turn number 3 and 4. But I would have thought that some of them would have at least wanted to kind of split the last set of laps in half. We're just not seeing that. So I think they're probably good to the end, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if they were going to come down pit road, they would have done it earlier. I mean, tires are so important here. They would have wanted to come down a little while ago just so that they could get the best use out of fresh tires, get the most speed, especially some of these guys battling for the lead. I mean, we've seen how difficult it has been to pass for the lead. You really got to fight and claw for every position once you get up inside that top 5. So if you could come down pit road, get fresh tires, and get the jump on them with the undercut, that would be helpful. But because nobody's done that, I think you're absolutely right. I think most of these guys will be good to the end. But we're kind of following along right there with Martin Plute and Stan Hausman. Again, this race has been so wild, Peter. The number 8 sitting there in 5th place, trying to take 4th. Not too far behind him, you've got Philip Scott battling for 7th. That's a driver who's involved in numerous incidents. These guys that we really thought were down and out, inside the top 10 and still running with a lot of speed. We said it earlier, I'll say it again. It's a driver's track. You got a little bit of bodywork beat out of the car, no big deal. If you're a wheelman, you're a wheelman. And Philip Scott and Martin Plute, they have shown what wheelmen they are tonight.
That is for certain. Some really good strategy calls as well on some of these drivers' parts here to get them track position here tonight as well. But Darling, Philip Scott, Justin White battling it out for 6th through 8th. You see a battle there just outside of your screen. You saw it for a brief second. A little bit further back. Philip Scott going to whip around the outside, move up into 7th. So good job by Scott with that front end damage on number 99. Now starting to close in on Chris Darling. He's been throwing in some pretty respectable lap times, even with that front end damage, Andre, on this F-150. So I think he'll be able to make the move here pretty quickly on Chris Darling. But Darling's not going to make it easy, and we're down to just 17 laps to go, as Darling should. He shouldn't make it easy on the number 99 to Philip Scott, because it's go time. The lap count really clicking off very quickly here now.
Neck and neck going into turn 1. The 99 not struggling at all to hold that truck to the bottom. Doesn't look like it's fighting tight at all. He's able to get to that yellow line and just kind of hold it there. He's got a half a truck length advantage, working his way down the back stretch. And again, he's going to outbrake him just slightly, but look at this, so close. The doors are practically touching. Neither driver giving up the advantage. Both of them want this position, and they want it bad. I think Darling actually had the position as they crossed the line just by an inch. Now coming through 1 and 2 again. Darling's going to rock it around the outside. Can he make it stick? Yes, he can, at the cost of getting a little bit sideways. Here comes Philip Scott. He did not get sideways, so he was able to get extra momentum. Down on that yellow line, not quite clear, and here comes the 11 again, charging on that high line, so evenly paced. They both have near identical damage, it looks like, on the front, so very even as they come into turn 1 and 2 again. And you got to think that number 2, Justin White, he's watching these guys battle, and he's thinking, all right, I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to let these guys sort it out. I don't want no part of this. And when one of these guys slips up, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to take that position.
Yeah, and a little bit up ahead is I think Phillips got it this time. Yep, Phillips finally got it that time. And a little bit further up ahead, look who has crept up towards the top 3. Martin Plute in the number 8 machine. Now looking to the inside of Matt Cherry. We got battles again, all of a sudden popping up all over this racetrack, and inside the top 10 as Plute does complete that pass. Makes it look fairly easy. So our Daytona winner and our points leader, Martin Plute, looking for another podium finish here tonight, showing some muscle here early in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Let's now look a little bit further back to this battle. One driver we haven't focused a whole lot on here today, that is the number 25 machine of Randy Perdue. We saw him a little bit early in the running as Doug Miller, the number 6 machine, is seesawing his way down the backstretch. But at the back end of this train, just off the timing board right there, is the number 96 Patrick Morrison, that bright blue machine right there. Good run for him so far. Started this race in 19th, now running up 4 spots. That's what that little 4 means right next to the 96 there in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. The green 4, that is. Plus 4 spots, and so far keeping that truck nice and clean. That's sometimes all you have to do here at this racetrack to get a good finish, as we got this side-by-side battle now for 12.
And they're going to be crossing the line for 10 to go pretty soon here. This battle is maybe going to go in favor of that. No, look at that. Actually, a lot of momentum on the low line there. Didn't expect that. Here's a 3-way battle. We got Stephen McDonald trying to lead that pack as Travis White and Randy Perdue still kind of battling back here in their own little world. Side by side behind them, you've got Patrick Morrison, Doug Milner trying to settle themselves out. Again, the laps are winding down, but the action has just cranked up. I mean, these guys are just at each other's throats. Here we go with that 3-car pack again. Steve McDonald in that AlphaTauri trying to hold these guys off, but man, they are making a charge. Look at that on the high line. They're going to get a good run out of this corner. The question is, where can they take it? They're going to take it to the high line, just barely getting the nose. I mean, just barely enough, and there's a little bit of contact. Not sure he's going to be happy with that one. Vinny got a little bit of a boot there. Now down to the low line, a little bit loose. Again, turn number 2 being the trouble spot, nearly 3 wide. AlphaTauri losing some momentum on the high side. It looks like Vinny's finally going to make the move. And he does. He's going to get around the number 42, Stephen McDonald. He's got Jeff Price still behind him trying to make that move as well. The AlphaTauri machine still trying to fight back on the high line here. I tell you what, Peter, I can't even tell you what line's faster. I've seen fast trucks on the bottom. I've seen fast trucks on the top. It seems like as long as you got the truck underneath you, you can make some moves.
Can't we just race here every week? Can't we just get the NSRA to come back to this track week after week after week, because it puts on a show? Vincent Valvano was in 9th just about a lap and a half ago. Now he's going to slide back to 11th as Stephen McDonald continues to somehow claw his way around this racetrack in 9th. Now has the back channel production Chevrolet of Jeff Price. He bounced it off the wall there in Thunder Alley, right back behind him. I got Jimbo in the chat saying, no, please, no. Although, Jimbo, you're going to have fun in the next race that we have here in the National Sim Racing Association, because, folks, next week is going to be one heck of a race, that is for sure, as Jeff Price now to the outside in that number 14. Looks like he's going to take 9th. No, the 42 battled on back, and next week is Iowa, for those wondering at home. And another great short track that puts on a good action. A little tricky short track, though, as we're down to just 5 laps to go. You're not missing anything up the front. The Canadian driver, Mike Floppy Tellier, who is the only Canadian flag driver in the field here tonight, is your race leader by a whopping 5 seconds over the battle for second. That's right, Martin Plute has run down Tristan Maher, and our points leader gonna pad the point standings here tonight with that pass on Tristan Maher. Extremely impressive run by Martin Plute here tonight.
This just seems to be his forte, Peter. I mean, I said when we were going through the grid that, Martin Plute won Daytona despite not having very good luck. I mean, involved in a couple incidents, wasn't even anywhere near the lead on the second to last lap. Come up through there, the leaders got involved in some problems, bada bing, bada boom, he gets the win. Now tonight, he has issues early on in the race, has more issues a little bit later on. Now, at the end of the race, somehow he's battling for seconds. We got contact. Oh boy. Oh, they save it though. 42 and the 10, just barely sorting that out. Man, oh man, going to this track every week, that's a petition I'd sign, Peter.
Yeah, that the 42 there, Stephen McDonald, and the 64 of Vincent Valvano, just kind of bouncing off one another there in turn number 1 and 2. Meanwhile, back behind him, again, battles just raging on here with the lap count winding down. The 94 of Patrick Morrison continues his late race rise up towards the top 10. He's now up into 13th. Great job by Morrison. We're hearing Ben Mashburn has had an issue out there on the racetrack as well, but the white flag has already waved for this driver right here out of Sarnia, Ontario, the number 97, whipping his way through turn number 3 and 4. Hello, Kitty! Gets to go to victory lane. Hello, everyone. Tellier gets the job done here at Rockingham Speedway. Martin Plute gonna come across the line in second. The 17 to Maher third. Matt Cherry gonna hold on to a hard-charging number 99, or hold off a hard-charging number 99, Philip Scott, who's going to finish in 5th. 6th spot to Stan Hausman. Darling going to finish in 7th. Justin White, Jeff Price, Stephen McDonald round out your top 10. Let's see if we can quickly figure out, though, what happened to the number 4 machine of Ben Mashburn. Here we go, on board with Ben Mashburn. We'll pick up the winner burnouts here in just a moment by Mike Floppy Tellier. But, whoa, there was contact in front of Mashburn. He spun it around. That did not bring out the caution flag. My oh my. Well, let's see if we can go back live. Let's see if we can get those winner Mike Tellier burnouts here on the front stretch. Is he out of fuel? He might be out of fuel here, Andre. He's getting a push back to the pit lane from the number 17 of Tristan Maher. Looks like he's found some fuel in the tank. They might have been running on fumes there late in the race.
Yeah, that would make sense. That was a long green flag run, but I think he's got a little bit more fuel in the cell. Just had to give it a little bit of a wiggle, get that fuel up in there, and maybe no, is he out again? Looks like he's gonna get a shot from the 99 here. Maybe some help in doing these victory donuts. I'll tell you what, he earned this victory. All night we saw him scrapping for position. Maybe never had the fastest truck in the field, but he had the most determination. He was making moves that I don't think anybody else was brave enough to make. And ultimately it got him the win. And another thing about his race too, that last lap, I don't know if you noticed, Peter, we had lap traffic side by side getting loose right in front of him on the last lap. It could have all ended right then and there, but he was able to hold on. The lap traffic sorted themselves out, and he got back to that checkered flag. What a night for that 97 machine, and again, just hard-earned.
Yeah, that number 97, I mean, it was not the easiest of wins, that's for certain, for Mike Floppy Tellier here taking that lead late in that number 97 truck. Let's see if we can cut away. I want to see if we can look maybe a little bit more into what was all going on a little bit in front of Mike Floppy Tellier. This was the battle between Travis White. The number 23 was involved in number 25, excuse me, Randy Perdue. And there's the 23 and the 25. They made some pretty hefty contact. Looks like the number 6 machine of Miller able to squeak on through, even though he caught everyone catching the wall here late in the race, Andre. Oh my, this racetrack always puts on a great show.
Well, you know what they say, if it's the last lap, you got to send it, and that seems to be what they were doing. And I believe Tellier is going to pull up to the victory lane in the tri-oval there. That's another thing I love about this track. I always loved how the victory lane was just right there in the tri-oval. Visible to everybody in the grandstands. The drivers can just pull right up to it. He's going to get a few nice screenshots out of that one. I mean, anytime you get a truck that beat up into victory lane, especially with a paint scheme like that, you got to take a few pictures.
Oh, that is for certain. I got to say, Tellier's going to be one happy driver here tonight. Let's see if we can start dialing up those post-race interviews, though, for everyone back at home. Let's see if we can dial up tonight's third-place finisher. Driver of the number 17 machine was very, very quick out there. Started on the outside pole. Tristan Maher, Peter Short, 3Y TV booth. You got a copy?
I got a copy, Peter.
Well, Tristan, tonight, at times it looked like it might be your night in the Eclipse Photography machine, but ultimately that long green flag run right at the end. Do you think you burned up your tires maybe a little bit too much trying to get around Matt Cherry there in the number 5 machine? Because it was a hard fought battle, between you, Cherry, and Mike Tellier for a good number of laps.
Yeah, I really did myself in there on that last run. Even in the very beginning, I mean, I got loose in between turns 3 and 4. Then a lap later, I got loose again in the same spot. So then I had to really chill out and try to cool off my tires. This is literally the worst track that you can do that to. It actually, I mean, I swear you lose like 3% tire usage every time you get loose. So, yeah, I didn't do myself any favors there. And then I ended up cooling off, regaining my composure. I got around Mike again. I got around was it Nick Hessler, and then once I got to Matt Cherry, I don't know what it was. Matt Cherry, I got to give him a shout out because he did a really good job defending. I was trying real hard to get around him. I got loose underneath of him a couple times. Me and Mike kept swapping positions because we were both getting loose trying to pass him on the bottom. Looking back now, I should have just been more patient, let the race play out. There was a lot of time. I didn't need to get around him right away. But yeah, I really did myself in there when I was trying so hard to get around him. And Mike was just kind of at the end there, just kind of chilling and watching me and Matt battle it out. So I think he got to save a good bit of tire there. that point.
Well, it was nonetheless some great racing here tonight. What were you thinking from the driver's seat here tonight? Because the racing from up here in the booth was absolutely stellar. We had some long green flag runs. In fact, really, we had no short green flag runs. All of them had some length to them. We had different tire strategies out there. What was going through your mind throughout the majority of this race?
Majority of the race, the different tire strategies really played out. Me, Mike, Philip, Vinny, we all, had the same tire strategy, and that really worked out as far as, how the cautions fell and stuff. It was pretty even playing field on the last restart. Everybody up front had fresh tires except for one person. I can't remember exactly who it was, but he did a decent job holding us off on older tires. My thing about this track, especially in these trucks, is clean air is king. You can save so much tire being up front just because you have more downforce. You don't have to push through the corners as hard to keep the same speed as the person behind you. Clean air is definitely king. It was my goal to stay out front, but I really did myself in when I got loose there. And once Mike passed me, and I was behind, 3 trucks, I couldn't save any tire. I had to push to keep up, and it's the way it goes. I'm happy with the 3rd place position. I hit the wall late there, and Martin Plute passed me. I was pretty down on power after that. I was just trying to salvage a 3rd podium finish. So, it was a fun race. Good race.
Oh, it definitely was a good race. Next week we go to the Iowa Speedway, a little short track, another racetrack that always puts on a good show. You excited to go to Iowa?
I am. I love short tracks. I always try to do my best there. They're always challenging and they're always fun. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Well, Tristan, before we let you go, any shout outs you'd like to give out?
Yeah, for sure. First, I'd like to shout out this Eclipse Photography Ford F-150. Was the fast truck tonight. Driver error. That's the only reason why I lost this race. Backcraft, also on the back. And then you guys, 3Y TV, you guys do an excellent job broadcasting these races. I always love every single night, almost right after the race, I go back and watch the broadcast. So you guys do a great job. NSRA, fantastic league. Check them out, look them up on Facebook, join the Discord, whatever you got to do, get yourself involved in these races. Shout out to my team, Mike Tellier, Vinny Valvano, Philip Scott. We did a good job tonight. I'm super happy for Mike. He's on a hot streak right now. I think that's all I got.
Well, Tristan, congratulations on your 3rd place finish. We'll see you next week at Iowa. It's going to be another good one. We'll see you there.
Thank you, Peter. You have a good night.
All right, that's going to do it with tonight's 3rd place finisher, driver of the number 17 machine, Tristan Maher. Let's see if we can go down to Andre Grambush, who I believe is caught up with tonight's runner-up and our Daytona winner, Martin Plute.
You got a copy, Martin?
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Oh, Martin, I don't even know where to start with your night, man. I don't know how you do it. You were involved in a couple of incidents early on, got a little bit of damage. I thought, man, I'm looking at that truck. I'm like, his night's over. But somehow, you get that damage fixed up, you wheel that thing back towards the front, you finish in 2nd. How'd you do it?
I have no idea. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. I got lucky, I think, on the first wreck. It didn't cause that much damage. It was about 30 seconds, and it got me off cycle on the tires, which was the main concern because we only had 3 sets. Yeah, I don't know. Just got lucky, really. That thing shouldn't have finished 2nd. It almost barrel rolled down the backstretch. It shouldn't have finished. Shouldn't have finished 2nd.
Yeah, you were almost up and over. Just a ridiculous incident there, and somehow to bring it back on the podium, that is super impressive. I don't think very many drivers made quite as many overtakes as you did tonight, Martin. Tell me what it was like out in traffic. What was it like trying to make overtakes at this old racing surface?
It's tough. It starts off very, very loose. It gets tight towards the end once it's worn down. It's about saving your tires, and I'm not typically pretty good about that. Especially after the first wreck, I was driving mildly angry So the second stint did not do well on the tires, but the third run, just saving the tires, doing what you can, and trying to avoid everybody falling back and forth.
Absolutely. Well, again, congratulations on the podium. Definitely well earned. Not very often, you've seen the spin and win, but not very often do you see the flip and podium. So just a phenomenal run and just one of many this year. It seems like this has been a great season for you so far, and we're hoping you can carry that momentum forward. Before we let you go, is there any shout outs you'd like to make?
Yeah, thanks, guys. I want to thank you guys for broadcasting as always. It's always fun to go back and watch this. I've been watching it up here on the second monitor. It's always fun to see all the angles. I want to thank Chris at MaxGrafix, putting this nice truck together. Looks great. Beer Street Journal, Stay Tuned Sports. Go listen to Jimbo on your podcast player of choice. And I'll see you all next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we're talking to you again.
Yeah, to the cornfields of Iowa.
Should be a fun one. Well, thank you for your time, Martin. Congratulations.
Have a good night, guys.
That was Martin Plute, second place finisher. And now we're going to hand it back to Peter, who's going to have a word with our race winner, Mike Tellier.
Yeah, I'm down here in the middle of the front stretch down here in Victory Lane with Mike Floppy Tellier. Mike, what a night for that number 97 truck. I know you had to get your elbows out a couple of times, but that was pretty common throughout the field here tonight. A lot of hard racing throughout the field. You saved your tires enough, and man, did you ever scoot away before that checkered flag fell, taking home a pretty commanding win at the end of the night. Walk us through it, bud.
Going in, me and Tristan and Philip and Vinny, we all kind of had like a strategy in our head of what we might want to do depending on how cautions fell, and we talked about brake bias adjustments and what we thought was the good way around the track on long runs, and we just kind of stuck to the plan, and it worked out. Yeah, things got definitely heated on that last restart, though. Martin put up a good fight there, and I wasn't sure if we were gonna get around him and save the right front enough to actually be able to scoot away. But here I am in another victory lane this week. I'm on a roll in this Hello Kitty stuff, dude. I should have been driving this years ago all the time.
Yeah, just keep a pink car. Maybe you can even give K Pitty a pink car. My goodness, I can't tell my colors. Go give him a pink car, because I know we need to get him back into sim racing at some point. But Mike, great race here tonight. We got Iowa next week. I know you've kind of been here and then not here. You planning to join us for Iowa next week? And if so, what are your thoughts about Iowa?
I won't be there next week. I'm only part-time every other week here. Thankfully, Chris is letting me run and get involved here in the series, and so yeah, I'll be with my kids next weekend. So not at Iowa, but I love the track. Definitely kind of drives like this when in terms of tires, you want to be able to save your right front for the long run. Kind of progressive banking, just kind of like here too, where the high side seem to have more grip on the bottom. It should be a good race next week. Hopefully the guys put on a good show for you.
All right, so let me tell you what you're going to do, Mike. Next week, you're going to pop a bag of popcorn for each of the kiddos, give them a bowl of popcorn, sit them down on the couch, get right here in the 3Y TV chat. That sounds like a great night. Hope to see you in the chat next week, Mike. But a great win here tonight. It wasn't easy. How was the track racing for you? And talk about those battles that you had here tonight.
It was definitely slick, and so depending on how you got on the throttle or how hard you could get loose off. And then obviously you didn't want to drive it in too deep, or else you'd burn off your right front, and then you just got too tight to do anything. So, I mean, you wanted to race the track more than race the trucks around you. But passing someone seemed like it was almost impossible on the bottom. It took a lot of effort between me and Tristan, even Philip, to try and get around Matt Cherry and all them at the end. And it seemed like you could get a huge run at a 3 and 4 on the high side, and then I don't know. I seem to like the high side in one passing the guys in the bottom because they could get the run at a 2, and you were kind of pinched down and burn your stuff up. But it was definitely difficult, and you want to race the track. Like, I think track temp was like almost 135 degrees. It was insane.
Yeah, Andre was keeping an eye on that track temperature all night long, and we were mentioning how slick it must have been for all of you folks out there on the track. But taking it all the way to Victory Lane, there's no place more slick than Victory Lane here at Rockingham Speedway. Before I let you go, Mike, any shout-outs you'd like to give out?
Yeah, the Team TNR guys. So Tristan, Phillip, Vinny, Garrett, Jason Gracias, Jason Freeman, Doziak. I don't know where he is, why he isn't racing. If I forgot your name, I apologize. Josh Sobel. Sobel, we got to play some hockey sometime, dude. Get Chell and be my goalie. I need you. Sky Motorsports, Matt Rodriguez, Bronson Stafford, Shane Terry, and Tom Bourne, Robert Kenny, Nick Massey, all the guys at Sky Motorsports. They're the best team out there. Hello Kitty and Sanrio for being on my equipment. 3 Wide TV, you guys obviously for putting on this broadcast. NSRA for letting me race. Stay Tuned Sports and Jimbo for sponsoring the series, and Chris and Justin for putting up with all our crap every week.
Absolutely. Mike, a great way to put it. I gotta say, great to have you and Victor Lane back here in the 3 Wide TV booth. We'll see you a couple of weeks' time, and hopefully you can get back in Victory Lane again here a couple more times this season.
Yep, thanks for having me.
All right, well, that's going to do it with our race-winning interview. Mike Floppy Tellier taking home the win here tonight on 3 Wide TV. But let's see if we can bring up the final race results for everyone back at home here on 3 Wide TV. Just a moment before they pop up. There we go. They should be popping up. There we go. Mike Floppy Tellier taking home the win. Martin Plute, points leader, coming into tonight, winner of one race already this season with a strong second-place run, but 5.5 seconds behind Tellier at the checkered flag. Tristan Maher, another 2.5 or so back in third. Matt Cherry, another 3+ seconds back. Philip Scott coming home in fifth. Stan Hausman, Chris Darling, 6th and 7th. Justin White, Jeff Price, 8th and 9th. And Stephen McDonald round out our top 10 here, Andre.
Vinny Valvano going to bring home P11, just outside that top 10. Doug Milliner with a very impressive top 12 there. I mean, this is a guy that was in and around traffic all night long, really scrapped for position and brought it home in the top half of the field. Patrick Morrison, Randy Perdue, 13 and 14. 15 and 16 is going to be Travis White and David Buell. 17 and 18, Doug Neal, Dalton Hayes, bringing it home in 18th for LFG Racing. And it looks like 19 and 20, if the graphic scrolls, are going to belong to Ben Mashburn and Joe Meach, rounding out your top 20.
21st position here tonight, Mikey Williams. 22nd, Gerald Baker III. Adam Newton, 23rd. Got one of those Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Awards at one point here tonight. Jeff Clifton, 24th. Nick Kessler, 25th. Adam Dama, 26th. Jimbo finishing 27th. Jerry Richmond, in 28th. And rounding out our field here tonight, unfortunately, the number 30 of Julian Tesoro, who started this race on the pole. There's nothing more painful, Andre, than starting the race on the pole and finishing last out of the starters in the field. Of course, Scott Tompkins, the out-of-race official, did not start here tonight. It's just brutal. I've been there before. Tough break for Julian Tesoro. He was in our 3 Wide TV chat a little while ago, and his quote was, "Man, this is the one that got away." Julian, hopefully we'll see you next week at Iowa, bouncing back in the number 30 machine. But yeah, definitely very tough. A couple of things left to do here. Of course, we want to give a big shout out to Simbox, as well as give out the Simbox button box, biggest mover of the race. That's going to go to the number 5 machine of Matt Cherry here tonight. Matt, congratulations. 24 positions gained en route to a 4th place finish from 28th to 4th. Very impressive here at Rockingham Speedway. At one point, thought he might get to victory lane. That was not going to be the case here tonight, but does pick up the Simbox biggest mover of the race award. Andre, any kind of final thoughts here about tonight's race?
I just want to go back to this petition you were talking about to come back here every week. I want to make this a thing. I want to sign that probably 5 or 6 times maybe. This was a great race, Peter. It was just, I mean, constant action. There was never a dull moment in the entire 150 laps, and there's just not any other track that you can go to, maybe other than Martinsville or Bristol, where you can say that. It's just such a phenomenal track. And these guys, man, I can't say enough about the field tonight. These guys did a great job putting on a show, making sure that it was entertaining for the viewers at home, and probably a lot of fun down on the racetrack as well. I'm looking forward to Iowa. That's another good track. Maybe not quite on the level of Rockingham, but it's a great track. We got progressive banking, so we're going to see multi-groove racing, I'm sure. And, there's a lot to look forward to next week.
Yeah, if you put that petition out there, NSRA, and you see lots of repetitive email addresses like a.grandb and maybe andre.grandbush and those types of things at gmail.com, and you just see a bunch of those, we know who's guilty of doing so. I'm looking forward to Iowa as well, Andre, another track that always seems to put on a good show in the iRacing.com simulator. Absolutely, I love broadcasting there on 3YTV as well. Want to give a shout out to the series sponsors here of the NSRA Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Of course, Stay Tuned Sports themselves with their podcast. There's a link to the Podbean in the description of the video if you want to go listen to their podcast discussing all things sports across the country. It's going to be a good one this week, discussing the NFL draft, that's for certain. MaxGrafix and MaxGrafix.co. We've seen that on a couple of trucks here tonight. Go check them out if you want an iRacing custom paint scheme. MaxGrafix.co will hook you up. Brookstone Animal Hospital, we gave out a couple of Lucky Dog Awards, courtesy of them here tonight. BrookstoneVet.com in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area. Taz Racing Customs, their Facebook page is linked in the description. Beer Street Journal, sponsor of the Beer Street Journal Last Call here in the National Sim Racing Association. BeerStreetJournal.com. Eclipse Photography. Simbox, tonight's race sponsor. Facebook.com/SimboxPC. Big shout outs to them. And JNR Craftworks.com. Great place to get some really cool custom stuff that you can add to your house decor, amongst other things. And all those sponsors make this possible here on 3 Wide TV each and every week. And really great to be a part of the NSRA family here for the last couple of seasons. Well, folks, that's going to do it for us here tonight from the Rockingham Speedway. Make sure to tune in next week, next Friday night. 8:55 Eastern will be when we go live. Green flag falling around 9:05 Eastern. Looking forward to it. It's going to be another good one. But until then, we shall see ya.